Hey everybody, it's Kennedy Hawk here from the MCM team. We've got my co-host Hone with me. How's it going, Hone?
Pretty good, you know. Made it through Father's Day.
Survived the day. Barely. It's not over yet, because today we're doing an MCM recording. So we are taking a brief pause from our Playstyles video, because I'm still scheduling a guest to talk with us about Rush. And today we're going to be doing a 2025 Summers Buyer's Guide for Marvel Champions. So we're going to talk all about the different expansions that exist in Marvel Champions and what our opinions are on the best ones to purchase. Might seem like it's an easy question and not worth an entire 30 to 40 minute episode, but you'd be surprised at what we can talk about. You brought all your opinions, right?
Yep, with all the wonderful advance notice you always give me.
All the yes. I even told you we were doing this 5 minutes ago. Perfect. Professionals. So what is this? This is Hone and Kennedy's opinions on waves and boxes and which ones are the most valuable and which ones seem like that I'll be playing for the longest period of time. It's not all inclusive, right? If you have a favorite hero or a favorite story arc or a favorite part of Marvel's universe, you should probably invest in that area first. And we'll talk a little bit about those general guidelines and rules and things like that as well. But this is just opinions. I'm not saying that Scenario Box X has the most unique cards or the most powerful cards, so you should buy that Scenario Box. I'm telling you from my experience of playing the game a lot, these are the packs that I thought were the most useful to me. And we'll go through the packs a couple different ways and talk about them. But before we get there, I thought it would be good to talk about the things that are hard to find. So you have everything for this game, right, Terrence?
Yes.
Me too. So I am preaching to the choir here, but there are some things that seem like they're starting to go out of print. Some of them have even disappeared from the Asmodee store. They don't say out of print, but they're just no longer there. But if you go searching on eBay, there's some boxes and hero packs that are far above their MSRP value. So if you don't have those and you see them at your local store for MSRP, these should be some of the first things you buy. But just to get that out ahead of time, right, we have seen the article talking about, what are the names? Is it
Current,
modern?
legacy,
Current and
current and
legacy
legacy
environments?
environments, right?
That's right, current and legacy environments. So some of these things might be hard to find, right? And sometimes maybe they're still worth the value if your favorite heroes in them, like would be for me, but sometimes maybe they're not. So if our opinion doesn't align with yours because one of these things is really expensive, we're going to try to point that out and remind people of that throughout the episode. But in general, the things that are hard to find from my assessment right now are the Sinister Motives campaign box is increasingly hard to find. The Rise of Red Skull box is right behind it. And then surprisingly, the Age of Apocalypse box can be really hard to find. Although that was only one box ago, so I'm kind of shocked that it's it's already missing. For hero packs, it's Captain America and Doctor Strange, followed by War Machine, and then sort of like this four-way tie of like spotty availability with Storm, Wolverine, Deadpool, and Spider-Ham. So if one of those is your favorite hero and you don't have them, or if you're looking for that Spider-Verse campaign box, please grab it if you see it on the shelf for MSRP. And if you already own it and you see it on the shelf, find a friend on Discord, buy it for them, send it to them, have them PayPal you or something. I've done that a couple times to get boxes into people's hands. It feels really good to let people enjoy the game, so do that too. Okay.
According to the official Asmodee website, Mad Titan Shadow is also out of stock, and I'm unsure if
Alert.
that will get reprinted, but
Alert!
yeah.
So we're going to dive in and talk about the boxes and which boxes we think are essential versus nice to have versus maybe skippable. But before we get that, I want to give you one of my general guidelines for playing card games. I play too many card games. This closet behind me is full of just card games. So I have a little bit of experience of joining in card games, not always at the start. And what I would say, my best advice for people is to get engaged with the community and just buy whatever the newest stuff is. It isn't always the best advice difficulty-wise, right? Like the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. box and the heroes might be really complicated for a new player. But if you're looking to get engaged with the community and play with people, people are going to be excited about the newest heroes. They're going to be talking about the newest heroes. So jump on at the beginning of whatever the newest wave is when you're watching this video or listening to this episode. So right now, that would be the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. campaign box. I think Black Panther, Shuri, and Silk have been released, but Winter Soldier and Falcon have not. Their release date is this coming Friday. But everybody's going to be talking and playing with them right after they come out. So it's a good time to grab them so that you can join in the conversation. That being said, I thought we would talk about all the other campaign boxes that are out there and the core set. So, I haven't sent Terrence any notes on this ahead of time, but my general idea was we would talk through these boxes, talk about the strengths and weaknesses of different boxes, and in general say whether we think the box is essential, nice to have, or probably good to skip. So, we'll start out with the Marvel Champions core set. So I think this is essential because it has a standard set that you need, but I also think that this is one of the most complete products FFG has ever put out for an LCG. The core set was truly remarkable for this game, and if you haven't played other FFG games in their old versions of the core sets where you had to buy multiple boxes and there were singleton cards and all these things, you can get hours of enjoyment out of just this core set. On top of that, a lot of the foundational cards for the aspects, the stat buffing cards, some of the really good leadership cards, they're all available to you in the Marvel Champions core set. And those villains and heroes still are strong to this date. Maybe not the villains as much, but the heroes for sure, I find myself revisiting more than any other heroes in the game because I have such fond memories from the core set, but also because they have a lot of really good hooks. So I would put core set under essential.
Yeah, you can't really play the game without the core set. Generally, I think that's kind of the consideration. It's easily the best bang for your buck dollar-wise too, right? Like just if you talk about raw amount of cards for how much money you're spending, you're getting, like we were saying, 5 heroes, right? Like none of these other boxes, they are cheaper, but like you're getting 2 precons, right? Like you're just getting a lot more cards, and I still go back to them like Kenny Hawk does to the core set. Every year at Con of Heroes, we still see the core set heroes, and it's not just because these people just started with the game. Of course, that happens too. If you have newer players who are coming in, you'll see those heroes, but, like, new cards come out in this, just this recent Age of Apocalypse box, one of the kind of the last ones in this slide deck, really invigorated Spider-Man aggression for me. I think they did a fantastic design with that. And just to give you, I think I was super excited for this game when it came out in November 2019. And before the first piece of new content we got, I got 60 plays out of just the core set.
That's crazy. Crazy awesome. So one thing you said is that this is required to play. The reason that is because of that standard modular set. But now that we have standard 2, which we don't talk about, and standard 3, which we do talk about, you could play this game without having the Marvel Champions core set, but you probably need either the core set or that Age of Apocalypse box had standard 3 in it. You're going to need a standard set to play scenarios. So one of those 2 boxes is essential. Yeah, since it doesn't exist right now.
Sold out really quickly because people were excited about it.
I thought it was like in an alternate reality where Apocalypse won or something like that.
But the other thing you do get is you get tokens if you don't want to like splurge on kind of fancy tokens or use dials or dice or anything. So, and the status cards, right? So you do get a set of, I think, things that most people expect you to have, even if a lot of people love to bling out and replace all those things. Like I still see people at the con use the course, the like tokens from the core set.
Well, we're going to talk about the next 3 boxes sort of in conjunction. So the top 3 boxes in this row, the Rise of Red Skull, the Galaxy's Most Wanted. I didn't even know that had a "the" at the beginning. Wow. And the Mad Titan's Shadow. This is a trilogy of boxes. So if you're into interconnected stories, buying this trilogy could be a thing for you. In general, these 3 boxes are pretty mediumly received. I would say this is, in general, once we get past these 3 boxes, I feel like anytime you want to join the game, if you pick a wave and buy that wave, you're going to be in pretty good shape. I felt that way in Lord of the Rings too. A lot of times you could like buy, there weren't campaign expansions, but deluxe expansions, and then the hero packs or the chapter packs that followed.
Adventure packs.
Adventure packs. That's that game. And it would give you like some tools to solve the puzzles that were in that deluxe expansion. And the bottom row of boxes here does that. Sinister motives through Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But the first three, sometimes the heroes are well suited for the scenarios and sometimes not so much. So we have Rise of Red Skull that has Hawkeye and Spider-Woman. I'm going to say that this is a nice to have box for now, mainly because of the price. Right now this box is very, very expensive. I think it's like 3 to 4 times MSRP on average on eBay. The heroes in it are very great, definitely top notch, probably the best heroes in the entire game. And the villains are also pretty good too. I think that you get a really concise but simple villain set, a campaign that isn't overly complex, but probably not necessarily like a narrative that's going to like stick in your mind forever. So I think it's a nice to have. I wouldn't skip it if you get the chance to get it, especially for a reasonable price. But I put it in the nice to have category. I'm going to keep my synopses shorter so that I can let you talk more.
Sure. Yeah, I think I would agree. I think if it is reasonable price, it goes from a nice to have to a must have for me.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, you were mentioning the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. being a lot more complicated. I think as these LCGs kind of progress generally, I think there's just more mechanics that get added to keep the game fresh for kind of people. In all these kind of products, they design oftentimes the core set with that kind of next wave initially. And so you're getting kind of that similar complexity level. So I think after you play the core set and you're like, I want more of the same, that's what you're going to get out of Rise of Red Skull, without even really talking about heroes or the villains that you're getting from there. You're getting kind of that even keel. And if you played the core set and you're like, I want more complexity, then I think Rise of Red Skull is probably goes from a must-have to like something that's like nice to have, or maybe you might even skip if like you don't think the core set has the complexity level that is keeping you interested.
So what are your thoughts on Galaxy's Most Wanted?
This is the most controversial, I feel like, box in all of them in the community generally. But I really like this box. I think it's probably, again, a nice to have or could be skipped probably. I think Rocket for sure, probably more than Groot out of the two heroes, you still see fairly regularly. I still think you do see Groot too. I just think Rocket is probably a little more popular than Groot in that respect. Still, heroes that are relevant today. I thought the campaign is fun. If you want a more puzzly Lord of the Ring-esque, I think, scenario design, I think that's what this kind of box offers. And one of the benefits is that this box is not out of stock, so you can get it from the today's store at a reasonable price. So I think if you're looking for one of the kind of old boxes and designs that is actually in print, this is that box for you as well.
For me, this is, if you're a new player, this is probably a skip for now box and maybe a nice to have later. But if you're a player that really likes challenges, I think this is a box you want. So this is going to become an essential box if you're a character that wants to see the ceiling of villain level power. But I think for most players, if you're, because right, like my real answer is all of these are essential. You should buy every single one of these products. But that's not realistic to every single person, especially if they're starting right now, right? So I'm going to have to tell you to skip something, and this is one I'm going to say skip on.
Yeah.
Mainly because it's really hard.
Yeah, I think this box goes from a skip to more interesting box reviews if you really like the deck construction puzzle. That's what I'll say and leave it at that. If you like that in scenario design, this is the box that this is a good box to look at.
So Mad Titan Shadow is the finale of this trilogy of the Avengers and Guardians coming together to fight against Thanos. And maybe other things. Spoilers, we won't say what they are. I think that this box is another skip box, in my opinion. I think I'm gonna have 3 skip boxes in here in total, and this is one of them. The reason I see this as a skip box is there are some interesting scenario designs in here, but A, we just learned that it's out of stock, so maybe I downgraded it on the fly. But B, like, I'm just not super excited about the Black Order. I am really excited about Thanos. I think he's a fun fight, but he's kind of a slog. And the heroes in the box are exciting, but they weren't heroes for me. I think one of the heroes, Adam Warlock, can be really complicated for new players, especially his deck building restriction requires you to run singletons and to include 4 different aspects in your deck building, so he can be a little complicated because of that. But I've also found that like the player cards that come in Mad Titan Shadows generally aren't as all around useful in a game of Marvel Champions. They're some of the least played player cards that I have in my collection. So I put MTS as a pass.
I agree with that. I feel like one of the best scenarios in Mad Titan Shadow Hela.
Ripping the Band-Aid off.
Ripping the Band-Aid off. No, I think people talk about this scenario and it is like a really cornerstone thing, but I think if you want that design has been improved upon since the release of this box. And so really instrumental at the time, fantastic scenario, even still to date. But I think if you couldn't get this box because it was out of print, or, even if you could get it and you skipped it, I think you can still get a lot of these great design ideas in other scenarios in the game.
All right, we're going to hop to row 2 here. So we're going to go to Sinister Motives. This was a single campaign box that wasn't interconnected into a story. I have this one as a nice to have, mainly due to availability. If it was available everywhere at MSRP, I would say this box is essential. I think it's one of the best boxes in the game. I think it has 4 really stable, fun villain scenarios, and then Venom Goblin. But the heroes are both solid. I feel like this is the first time, I think in Rise of Red Skull, Hawkeye, obviously, and Spider-Woman lesser so, can handle the villains that are coming in that scenario. But in Sinister Motives, I feel like Ghost Spider and Spider-Man Miles Morales were really tuned really well to handle the scenario box as a team. And to me, that makes this box I consider this like the second age of Marvel Champions design when I look at scenario and hero design. So I think Sinister Motives is a nice to have, but only due to availability.
I'd agree with all that. Fantastic scenarios. Probably even one of the better campaign designs too, actually. So one of the things that's interesting about Marvel Champions for newcomers is that they do a new campaign mechanic for every single one of these boxes. And so they don't really retread or repeat the mechanics still to this date through Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I think Sinister Motives had probably one of the better campaign ideas up to this point out of kind of the boxes here. Mm-hmm. And so, overall, mostly great scenarios. I think Venom Goblin definitely trends on the very, very hard side. But the first 4, I think, are really interesting, really fun. And then Miles and Gwen are still relevant today and have hooks that I think are just super fun. Mm-hmm. Ghost Spider / Gwen is still one of my favorite heroes, and I think she just gets better over time because of her triggers for interrupts and responses, which, as you get more of those asset cards, there's always a reason to come back to her.
Totally. The next box, Mutant Genesis. This is my next pass box, even though I really like the heroes that are in this box. They're 2 of my favorite box pair heroes. What I have found is when this box came out, I was super hyped on it. Mainly because the X-Men were finally here. We were in the mutant era. People were gung-ho. But what I've found, 2.5 years after that box came out, is that I only play one of the villains in this box ever, and that's Magneto. I tend to not play either of the Sentinel scenarios. Our group tends to not play Sabretooth. Brotherhood every once in a while, but usually if we're going to play a multi-villain scenario, it's one of the other multi-villain scenarios. So we just typically only play Magneto. So I see this as 2 heroes and 1 villain, and I'd really like to get more plays out of my villains. So this is my next pass box.
Wow, I disagree with you a lot on that.
Spice.
Mostly because I really like Project Wide Awake. I think that's a super fun scenario. Similar to, we didn't touch on it too much, but I think Taskmaster Rise of Red Skull was the first one that kind of did this design of, I think it's just fun in scenarios where there's scenario-specific allies that come out as part of that scenario. And anyone who's watched the kind of X-Men cartoons remembers the mall scene with Jubilee in that first episode. And I feel like this is super iconic for that. On top of, so the Project Wide Awake I think is just a super fun scenario for me, and I do come back to that. And it also it's one of the first scenarios that has an alternate loss condition, or one of the few in the game, and I always find that fun. And I think for the kind of box that kicks off all of kind of the mutant waves of the next 3 boxes, you're going to get a lot of the kind of core set. If you are going to build Mutant X-Men, there are a few reprints, but I mean, getting Professor X, staple ally in this box, right? He can be included in, for sure, X-Men mutant stuff, but even outside of that, right? Like having Confuse on a stick, 3 thwart, really helps a lot of heroes that may not be able to thwart super well, like those in the core set, potentially. And then you get like, kind of the other kind of X-Jet, X-Mansion, Utopia, I believe are all in this box. And so having, I think, that mutant support where if you were to kind of only grab a few of the other kind of hero packs or things, it really gives you that core to kind of build out, I think, those X-Men things. So I think if you care about building into X-Force, X-Men stuff / mutants, I think this is actually a must-have.
Fair. Utopia, so some of those things didn't actually come out in this box, but this wave, right? So Utopia, I think, was with Cyclops and Storm.
Did X-Men? I know X-Jet's in here. I thought
there.
I thought 2 of the supports were in here.
I think it might be X-Mansion or something.
Yeah, I think X-Mansion.
Yeah, it does have a lot of staple cards for the X-Men. What I found is that a lot of those cards got reprints later in packs.
I think only some of them did, though. And then you're hunting down hero packs there.
This is true. Some of which are rare. Well, what are your thoughts on Next Evolution?
The Next Evolution is probably one of my favorite boxes, just period, in the game. And I think it's fantastic scenario design. I enjoyed, there's a lot of just is different in the sense that there's a lot of just progression kind of things in here. And I do come back to these villains a decent amount. I think there's just pretty fun, it isn't just go beat up the villain, right? There is this kind of progression to the scenarios that I think is unique to Next Evolution. Also, probably the best campaign system out of all the boxes just to date. And so I think that's fun. So you get kind of, not the best writing. I don't think any of these boxes have fantastic writing, but fun mechanics for campaign that I think is enjoyable, that I enjoyed it so much that I would even be willing to take this campaign mechanic and just use it with those cards in other boxes, and you would still have a good time. And then the heroes included in this, you get kind of a bulk of the player side schemes, which is a new mechanic introduced in this wave. And then Domino, if you really like those thinky top of the deck kind of shenanigans, super fun hero there.
Yeah, I think this box is essential. A lot of the same reasons. I really, really, really like the campaign and story in this box. I like the intricacy of all the scenarios. It is quite a bit more complicated than the core set. But I still think whether you're joining the game today or trying to fill out your collection, if you don't own Next Evolution, but you're playing Marvel Champions right now, it should be a box you buy. The player side schemes in it completely change the way the community plays the game. And if you want to play with and engage with that community, you should probably get those cards. So I think this box is essential. All right, Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah, Age of Apocalypse. I think Age of Apocalypse is a nice to have probably for me. I think there are super fun heroes in here. Bishop, leaning into those resources, is pretty unique, and Magic is also fun. But I don't know if they're super required, but I did think the villains are fun and replayable. But seeing that is currently out of print, that's kind of what knocks it down for me.
Yeah, I put this under nice to have as well. I tried to tell myself I had to have a few in every category. I mean, this one is definitely a fun box. It does come with that new standard set. I really like the Dark Beast villain. I think that villain is super fun. But in general, right, if I was to give things, I would put this a nice to have. So I'm going to summarize my box ratings really quick, and then we'll see if Hone can do his on the fly. So my essential boxes would be Next Evolution and, given availability, Sinister Motives. My nice-to-have boxes were going to be, I believe, Rise of Red Skull and Age of Apocalypse. And then my sort of pass boxes were going to be Mutant Genesis, Galaxy's Most Wanted, and Mad Titan Shadow. What were your categories?
Am I supposed to pick, because there's, 8 of these? one for each.
I mean, you can
kind of
tell
wave.
people everything's essential. That's up to you. They'll boo you, not me. Or tell
That's
me
fair.
I'm wrong. I don't know.
I think if I was to pick without taking into account out of print stuff, I think I would put Rise of Red Skull, Sinister Motives, and Next Evolution probably over Mutant Genesis.
Right.
Just because I like the snare design better. But I think if you're, and then you get the player side scheme. So I think it edges it out. And I think the nice to haves for sure for me are Mutant Genesis, Age of Apocalypse, and Mad Titan Shadow maybe. And then Galaxies probably could skip. Yeah.
Makes the most sense.
Yeah.
All right. So there's about 17 hours left in this episode because we're now going to talk about every hero pack in Marvel Champions. Are you ready?
You didn't rate Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I meant that at the beginning. That statement I said at the beginning of buy the newest stuff meant
Does
that
mean
was essential.
It's essential?
It's also S.H.I.E.L.D., so definitely buy it. It's the best. It is my favorite box right now, but I'm still in Cult of the New phase, so might update later. But if you're joining the game right now, when this episode goes live on June 16th, then go buy Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's available at your store right now. What is your Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. rating before we jump to Hero Pack?
I think it's a fantastic box, so I would put it in essential there. Mostly, probably more on the encounter design than the hero design for me. Is probably how I put that there. Is I think coming off the core set and other stuff, I think I could take or leave both Nick. Not that Maria Hill or Nick are bad designs. It's just I think I would probably pick up Sinister Motives as far as better hero setups. I think there's other boxes that have better hero setups for me personally.
Spider-Man bias.
Sure. But, it's just I just think it's hard to compete with how good the snares are in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay. We can't actually go through every hero pack because there's way too many of them.
Too many.
So instead, this is going to be more of a quickfire round. So for each wave, we're going to pick one pack to say that it's essential and one pack that is a pass. So I'm going to let you go first for wave one. So wave one includes Captain America, Ms. Marvel.
Are we collectively picking?
We're each picking and saying
why. We're each picking?
So
we don't have to have consensus?
We don't have to have consensus. We can have different opinions, and that's great. So Captain America, Ms. Marvel, Thor, Black Widow, Doctor Strange, and Hulk.
Man, does it feel bad if you pick one of the packs that are out of print as essential?
I might be doing it.
I feel like if I wasn't considering that, I would pick Captain America for me, just because I think he's such a great all-arounder, comes and flashes out the hero kit, I believe, leadership cards that really help out if you care about Avengers kind of leadership stuff. And so you get just a good, healthy amount of allies. Unfortunately, I think he is out of print, like you said. So I think his pack goes for $100 on eBay or something like that.
That's ridiculous.
As I'm saying that, I don't think you should pay $100 for Captain America. Unless you really want to, but...
So I'm considering the fact that we don't all want to throw $100 at a hero pack. So my essential pack is Thor. I think over the years Thor has only gotten better. If you saw Thor when he came out, you would be super disappointed in him. But now he's got great hooks in every aspect. He's super fun to build around, and I think that he has really come full circle as a hero pack. He also comes with some fun hero cards, or deck building cards, which I think is important. My skip is probably going to be, we're going to go with Doctor Strange, even though you lose out on Skilled Strike. Mainly because he is very expensive, but also because you pay a lot of money to just win the game, and that's not fun. He does trivialize a lot of the scenarios. He's not as strong. He used to be a super outlier in how strong he is. I feel like a lot of hero design has become stronger in general, and that's not bad. That just probably means they hit their groove in designing. So I don't think he's as much of an outlier as he used to be, but he is still very strong and hard to find. So I'm putting him as a pass.
That is who I was going to pick as a pass, actually.
You could say it still.
Yeah, I was going to pick Doctor Strange as a pass. I think he was considered OP, but I actually don't know if that's true anymore, especially with all the stalwart and steady villains not being able to have status effects. Obviously, Invocation deck is still pretty strong, but he actually is kind of squishy, and so I think against like Juggernaut and some of these harder hitting villains, sometimes like he can die. That's a thing. But yeah, I mean, I think even in the aspect cards and other stuff, like I could take or leave some of those cards in that kind of kit versus like Thor or something.
Really miss Guild Strike. I don't know. Wave 2. I'll go real fast here. It's going to be pick up Ant-Man and pass on Wasp. 2 form-flipping heroes that are super fun. I used to say people should definitely get Wasp because she had a lot of really important basic cards that can be built into lots of decks, but the most important of those basic cards, Power in All of Us, has now been reprinted. So, let's just go with Ant-Man because I think he's the more fun form flipper of the 2.
Interesting. I was going to say pick up Wasp and skip Quicksilver. I think 3-sided heroes, take one of them. I think they're fun. But Power in All of Us, even though there's reprint, is still really strong. I think having 2 copies of them is never a bad thing. I
think you get Ironheart in Wasp's pack too.
Yes, you get a lot of the like core, I think, basic allies and stuff that I felt like Carrie does through a good number of the waves, and even though they aren't a must like auto include in decks anymore, I still think they're really good splash kind of allies there. And I think she has one of, especially in this time period, and still even to date, like one of the more fun, I think, alter ego abilities of cycling disc. Anytime you can cycle discard things back in your deck, I think is always fun. And there's just some fantastic, including Professor X, like mental printed cards that you want to shuffle in your deck. So I think she's fun in that way, where she's probably one of the first, I think, heroes that could stay in alter ego, like as a build.
Yeah. What do you think in Wave 3?
Who needs 3 forms when you can just stay in 1? Wave 3 for me, I would say Venom is probably the pick that I would pick. I do wish he did some better things around weapons, as in more, just in the game in general, but I think he came in Justice, if I recall, right? Justice Precon. I think sonic rifles are fantastic. I think he helps get you kind of some of the confused stuff that still stays relevant to this day. And then as a hero, he's still pretty fun, to be honest. And as far as skip, I probably would take Drax. Mostly because Americano made me play a Drax deck and didn't include Night Nurse, and I lost.
Well, I was torn on my must-have between Star-Lord and Drax. I really like Star-Lord's ability to make all allies guardians, but I think Drax comes with some really interesting protection cards. And that's like the first time in this game's history that happened. So definitely pick up Drax. And my pass was Gamora. I feel like her unique deck building let a lot of cool aspects be put into her pack, and then unfortunately some of them were reprints or fairly generic events. So she was...
I actually think a good amount of Drax's protection stuff has been reprinted, though.
Has Leading Blow been reprinted? Was that?
I don't know if Leading Blow has, but Defiance and stuff definitely has.
How dare I?
I do think Leading Blow actually has been reprinted.
Okay. Wave 4. You could just pass this entire wave. It's disgusting.
Really?
For me, the pickup would have been War Machine, but out of print. So I'm going to go with Nebula. I think she is really interesting with her ability. And I like the idea of how they mirrored the villain in the hero. This is the first time we saw that, and I thought it was a cool thing to see. And my pass would probably be Valkyrie, because she's pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, I will skip also on Valkyrie. We were playing at Gen Con last year, and Mark Zilla from the Discord bought a Valkyrie Precon, brought it, and didn't remember how bad it was, but it was worse than he thought. And yeah, he did not have a good time. That being said,
anyone else.
Yeah, I don't think she's the worst or anything, and I think she can be made fun. But I think, like, as a precon, it definitely was probably a miss as far as that goes. And I've seen her at the con every year, and people have had great success with her. As far as a pickup, I would probably say, yeah, War Machine was what I was gonna pick because I think he's super fun. But yeah, I guess I can go with Vision to support Boom Guy.
There you go. Somebody's got to. Wave 5, we'll have you go first.
Wave 5.
Get them all.
Yeah, gotta get them all. SPDR, I think, would probably be my pick. I think such a fun hero design. Yeah, I mean, how many 3-hand heroes do we have in the game? 1. And I forget what came in her precon at this point, but I feel like I keep coming back to her for stuff.
I think she was protection.
I think if you like any of the 14 hit point heroes, I think she's the one that kind of fleshed out some of those things like limitless strength,
limitless stamina.
Limitless strength is the Hulk card. Limitless stamina, yeah. And unshakable, I think, were in this kit.
Yeah, she definitely had the Hulk patch, right?
Yeah, she had the Hulk patch in here.
Who's your pass?
My pass here is probably... This is a tough one, because I feel like all these are super good.
This is the wave, I'm telling you.
Yeah. Maybe Spider-Ham is the one that I play the least. He came in what? Protection? Or not protection, leadership?
Justice. Real boring justice cards, though.
Yeah.
I think he had Clarity of Purpose in his pack, though. It's a back-a-pack card.
It's pretty good. Yeah, Spider-Ham is probably the one I would skip.
I'm going to go with keep Nova. Nova came with a lot of aerial cards, which was one of the first times we got a big boost to aerial things. And if you're assuming people have the core set, they have access to at least 2 heroes they can go aerial, so that should be great. Also, it's a really fun design. It's all based around events. And I'm going to tell people, because this is nothing against SPDR or Spider-Ham, but because they focus a lot on Web Warriors and they synergize with Web Warriors, the fact that it's hard to get Sinister motives, I'm going to also put my pass on Spider-Ham or SPDR.
Clarity of Purpose came in SPDR, by the way.
Oh, wow.
And not Spider-Ham.
Okay, the pass is on Spider-Ham now, just for clarity of purpose.
Yeah.
Wave 6. If you can get him, for me, Wolverine is definitely the pickup. I think he's classic. He does just what Wolverine should do, and he's super fun to play. Short second goes to Cyclops, but Wolverine just edges him out because he does what he wants to do. And for me, the pass would probably be Phoenix. I think she was a good design, but she was the least inspired and thematic design of these 6, in my opinion.
This is also a tough one. I feel like
throw them all away, right? No,
yeah, throw them all away. No, I feel like I'd probably skip either Phoenix or Gambit just for aspect cards. I feel like the Justice cards in X-Men were not as fun as the other aspects. And I feel like it's unfair. We have 2 more packs, and we just have to cut more things. I feel like for me, if I was to be different, I feel like Storm. It was either Storm or Cyclops for me. I think Storm is just a super fun hero. You get Utopia as part of that. If you want all the supports because you didn't pick up Mutant Genesis, you get extra Utopia and X-Mansion in her pack. And so I think that is just really great for building out the mutant stuff. And you also get access to just more X-Men allies, which is fun. And to me, my X-Men.
We'll have you kick off Wave 7.
Wave 7. My skip for sure is going to be Deadpool, just because I think as fun as the pull aspect is, it is a one-off. And, I think pull is better than I thought it would be, but the fact that it's likely never getting more cards means that I think it is a very nice to have and not a must-have kind of thing. As far as kind of packs to pick up, I picked X-23 because I think she's super fun, but also I use specialized training a ton, and so she comes with that side scheme. And yeah.
Fair. Well, I think my pickup is Deadpool because he's a one of, which is, I guess, the opposite of what you said. But in my opinion, I think that's good because that means you don't have to worry about like, oh, well, I only got half of the pool aspect cards that were important. You have all of them. So whatever pool deck you want to build other than basic cards, you have access to every card you would need in one pack. That being said, I am not a big fan of the zaniness and the wall breakingness of Pool Nation. So theme-wise, Deadpool was the least exciting to me, but if you want something where you can build all the cards for one aspect, you can get them all in one pack. The past for me here is probably Psylocke. I think she's interesting, and she does come with some really fun cards, but somebody's got to get cut, so it was her this time.
That is interesting that you would pick Deadpool there.
It's not what I thought I was going to say,
yeah.
But it's what I have on my list.
I just feel like it doesn't build out your collection very well, but, teach their own.
I can be wrong and have been before.
Fair enough.
Mine was less about building out my collection and more about, like, if I'm making one purchase that's going to feel like a complete purchase, this would be a good one to make.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I kind of was going into this just like if I was picking stuff up to like expand my collection.
We didn't have rules to spar over at the beginning.
It's true.
But I did like that you told us that every single card that's important for Mutant Genesis was also in Storm. That's really important to me. I'm just kidding. Wave 8. I had my mandatory as Nightcrawler. I think Nightcrawler with Change of Fortune. It's a pack that makes protection fun. Protection should be fun. So I give big thumbs up to Nightcrawler.
I guess we're recording this, right?
No, I clicked stop right before that. Okay, we're back. Nightcrawler sucks. He comes with green cards. They're gross. You should buy Iceman and pass on Jubilee. There. Your turn.
I was going to pick Iceman just because Hero's great, but also I think if you're looking at aspect cards as well, he basically comes with a whole new archetype that is the kind of upgrade tactic of kind of both events and the actual upgrades themselves in aggression. So you get a whole new kind of almost encapsulated play style in there. And so I think that's fun. For Skip, I was going to say Magneto for me, though he does have a whole new set of archetype too, so maybe that's actually kind of tough.
That Jubilee out of there.
Yeah, I guess Jubilee. I like Jubilee a lot, but I think Magneto doesn't even edge her out, is definitely better. I like the hero less, but I think the aspect cards he comes with are super good. And basics.
So wave 9. I say go by Winter Soldier because he comes out this Friday. And
what about Falcon? Power. He also comes out this Friday.
Also by Falcon at the same time. New stuff is good. My real answer would be I'm most excited about the aggression cards coming out, Winter Soldier. They seem super fun. I would probably pass on Silk just because protection is as protection does, and I find Silk to be too thinky for me, but that is a personal preference and probably not inclusive of everyone.
If this is a tough one because I actually feel like this wave is pretty fantastic so far from what I've seen. The pickup for me, I think it's actually going to be Black Panther. And I think you get, because you probably have the core set, I think it gives you some fun things with more Wakanda. Like the first time we're getting any real kind of influx of Wakanda stuff besides like, I think Atlas Bear. And then her Justice cards, I think, are also really fun, right? So I think Infiltration is the best. We kind of got some more minion fetching things in the last wave, but I think Infiltration is probably the best my favorite out of all the aspects of kind of, it really shores up Thor and any hero that I think can kill, has good attack, but is weak on thwarting. And so now you can build this Injustice and not feel, I think, like you really have to like lean in one way. So, like leans into the resistant kit. And so I think that really fleshes that out. And then Wrapped, I think, is also extra fun.
Yeah, and so that's our summary of like the hero packs. We're going to look at them one more way. But in general, the thing we didn't cover is that if you're like super into X-Men, you care about X-Men, Avengers be danged, then by all means buy the Mutant Waves, right? These are just like us talking from a deck building perspective and how good the heroes were, how versatile the heroes were, which ones our favorites were from the wave to recommend for purchasing. Next, we're going to look at these things by aspect, because one of the tips I'll have at the end is we'll go through Kennedy Hawk's tips. And after you've played the core set, maybe picked up whatever your favorite box is, what I recommend to people is do one of two things, and it depends on what kind of player you are. If you want to be like the deck builder for protection because it was your favorite aspect, then start buying protection heroes. Or if you played through the core set and you were like, those green cards were horrible, I did not enjoy playing protection, then maybe you should buy a protection hero because it will make that aspect more interesting. So depending on which route you want to go, I thought it would be good to look at the hero packs based on what aspect their precon is. Now there's a caveat here, all of these heroes, most of these heroes, come with some sort of back of pack card that supports other aspects. But for each aspect, we were going to pick a top 2 hero packs to purchase. We won't cut any this time, we're not going to cut anybody. If you want to be the aggression person, you should definitely get all of these packs. But what are the top 2 aggression packs for Hone?
For aggression?
It's a lot
Yeah,
harder.
this is much harder. I think Nova, like you said, I think comes with a ton of stuff for kind of aerial, the infamous Hone technique. And man, this is tough. I mean, what? Man, this is a really tough one. Actually, let me retcon that. I actually feel like is Martial Prowess reprinted at all? Or is it just in Hulk?
Might just be in Hulk. I can't remember. I think it's just Hulk.
Do you take Hulk just for Martial Prowess and Dropkick?
Nice on Spice.
Yeah, those are some big hitting cards, right? I guess it depends on if you want to build for variety as well, right? Like, I think my recommendation for Iceman is up there for me if I was to pick one. And then, yeah, maybe Hulk just for like core
staple cards.
Core staple cards, right? Like, if I'm going aggression, there's 2 things I'm going to do. I'm either going to do a lot of basic attacks or I'm going to play attack events. And if I'm playing attack events, you probably want Martial Prowess.
Yeah, so my original answer actually was Hulk and Iceman for getting a new archetype from the core set. So I'll do my second answer instead, which is Thor Winter Soldier. So this is if you really want to go into that minion killing mode. Thor obviously thrives off having minions come out. Comes with a minion fetching card. Winter Soldier, same thing. So I think that there'll be 2 packs that synergize together super well. So the Alpha and the Omega, Thor, and Winter Soldier. Next up, Justice. I'll let you think, and I'll go first this time so that you don't struggle thinking about it, because I haven't decided yet. I still have 2 options in my notebook. I'm going to go with, for Justice, wow. I'm looking through these, and I don't think I did pick Nebula from her wave as like a person.
Because of one way or another?
I didn't pick any of these.
I was going to pick Nebula as one of my 2, just because I think one way, especially during True Solo, one way or another is...
Well, that got reprinted in Spider-Ham, so...
I feel like I can't pick Spider-Ham if I just told you we're going to cut it.
I know, me too.
No, that's true. I think I would probably take Spider-Ham over Nebula, actually, here. If I'm looking at Justice cards specifically, because Spider-Ham gets you, for multiplayer, even the odds, one way or another, in making an entrance in Overwatch. Those are just all fantastic Justice cards to build out your kit, right?
Yeah. I'm going to go with Black Widow as one of my choices, because she synergizes well with the upcoming Winter Soldier pack and with the whole Shield wave, so she's right in the mix of things people want to talk about right now. I think my other one was Spider-Ham for even the odds in one way or another. Boring.
My second pick is probably Shuri for what I said in kind of the pack before. I think getting Infiltration really opens you up to adding Justice into maybe heroes you weren't thinking would be good at Justice. So your Thor or Valkyrie or whatever.
Next up is Protection. You are the green card master, so please
I thought that was Americano.
What should we buy? He's gone. Old news.
Old news.
See how he's covered up with text there?
It's true. Protection. Let's see. I think SPDR. I'm going to go with that again, because you get Energy Bear and Repurpose in that kit. Does Miss Marvel also has? No. Yeah, I think SPR gets you Repurpose, which is a whole archetype.
Mm-hmm.
Which really opens up even like Iron Man in the core set. So if you have a core set for that, you get some pretty good things there. And then who has Unflappable?
Did Unflappable come in Doctor Strange? There's an X-Men reprint of it too. So probably Rogue?
Rogue has it, I know. Strange, yes. I would say Strange is probably my next pickup, the one that I told you to skip earlier. I think if you're looking at the perfect defense archetype, it's really hard to beat out getting Desperate Defense, Unflappable, and then, I was commenting on Night Nurse, but Night Nurse is probably one of the best like splash protection kind of cards when you have one slot left and you don't know what to do with it, because she's unique, and being able to just remove status effects really opens the door, I think, for a lot of heroes.
I'm going to go with SPDR for Repurpose and Nightcrawler for Change of Fortune. Those are the only two green cards that I know the name of. Basically.
Weren't you going to say, I thought you were going to go with Drax, man.
Everything's a counterpunch. He was number 3 on my list. I actually have them ranked over here. Leadership.
We don't do blue cards here, man.
And I threw Deadpool on here as a leadership one, but we're not going to pick that. We don't talk about that here.
Interesting. Yeah, do you want me to go first? Do you want to go first?
So, if Captain America was available, he'd be in the top of mine, because Strength in Numbers is amazing and has not been reprinted, and that's sad. But my answers here are Star-Lord and Cyclops. I think they're both great. They both give you that ability. Cyclops doesn't make everyone an X-Men, but they give you that like unique deck building ability to like bring in all these X-Men or to like make everyone a Guardian. And I think that can be really fun and thematic, and they come with cards that synergize with that. So I think that I would go with Cyclops and Star-Lord. They feel very like teamy, what you want leadership to feel.
I could see that. I wouldn't. I guess for me, Cyclops doesn't have as many leadership cards as I would expect. Because he does kind of do the splash thing. I was going to say Magneto for one of my two, because Magneto has a whole archetype. Maybe I just like diversity and variety. But I think you get some fantastic kind of interplay X-Men allies that you can kind of splash in non-X-Men decks pretty easily. And you get kind of that squared off noble sacrifice. You got this like kind of archetype of I'm willing to sacrifice my ally to like do some fun things. And so that I think those are just really fun things that change leadership in a big way when he dropped. And then the next leadership hero I was going to pick was Iceman. I feel less solid about this. I think Ant-Man does come with the staples of some fun X-Men allies. If you're talking about strength in numbers, Stinger's always just a fun, unique ally that's just like I can have a fourth one for just doing things with. But then Reinforced Suit, I think, is such a good upgrade. And so losing access to Reinforced Suit for just feels hard.
Well, that's our Hero Pack segment. We've got one more segment before you wrap up, and that is about scenario packs in this game. So in my opinion, scenario packs are one of the most skippable products in Marvel Champions, just because we like to focus on heroes. Heroes are the interesting thing for the players to get to build around, but scenario packs can still add a lot to the game. We don't get a scenario pack every wave, so right, we have 9 waves, but we do not have 9 scenario packs. We don't even know what's in Trickster Takeover beyond that article yet, so it's hard for us to say what we would cut or what we would get rid of. But I thought we could just rapid fire, go through each scenario pack, and we'll alternate back and forth and say a sentence about it, and then give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So I'll let you do Green Goblin, and then I'll take Wrecking Crew, and we'll go bump, 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 bump.
Sure. Green Goblin comes with 2 scenarios, Risky Business, Mutant Formula. Super formative in the early part of the game. Mutant Formula, it's still played, I think, today for a lot of folks. If you like just getting kind of bum rushed by a bunch of minions. So if you want a minion heavy scenario, great scenario. I think Risky Business has not aged as well, but I think with a few slight tweaks, it still kind of hangs up there. Kind of, and then came with a good number of actually mod sets that I still use. If you like, especially if you like Spider-Man, thumbs up for me.
Thumbs up,
especially if you like Spider-Man themed. Obviously,
all right. Wrecking Crew, thumbs down. No modular sets, so you're only going to play it on its own. Doesn't mix any modular sets in, so kind of samey every time you play it. Probably the least repeatable product or replayable product in all of Marvel Champions. Down. Kang, on to you.
Kang, thumbs up for me. Was built on an existing design actually from Lord of the Rings called Foundations of Stone, and I think actually I would be willing to skip this if I was playing. If you're just interested in true solo, I think it really shines in more players just because it has a unique mechanic that is splitting the players up, and it is kind of trends on the longer side. So be prepared to, I think, play longer because you're going to go through 3 distinct kind of phases fighting Kang.
All right. The Hood is on to me. I'm going to give the Hood a weak thumbs up because it does come with a lot of modular sets, but it's also one of those cranked up difficulty scenarios. It also loves to dump encounter cards on you. So if you've ever wanted to see a lot of encounter cards because you think Marvel Champions is too boring, then Hood's your guy. All joking aside, I do think that it can be a fun, challenging scenario and a scenario that pivots your gameplay style in a different way. So for me, I think when the Hood came out, I was probably a major double thumbs down player, but I am now a lukewarm thumbs up player for the Hood. Mojo, over to you.
I feel like you gave me all the best scenario packs, actually.
I did that on purpose, actually.
Mojo Mania, super thumbs up for me. Probably actually my favorite out of all the scenario packs that have come out to date.
No.
You get 3 scenarios, right? Why would I sell for 1 or 2 if I can get 3? Some really fun mod sets with kind of that show mechanic with Mojo, and all 3 scenarios I think are pretty fun. Still, I think maybe Spiral is probably the weakest out of the 3, but I think Magog is super fast. I think Mojo is going to be fast because you're on a timer. And so I think overall it's well loved in the community, and I think the scenario and mods are both super well done.
And it has that mini campaign in it, which I think is really cool.
Yes.
Gotta shout it out. The last one is not out yet, so definitely buy it. It's coming out in August. So Trickster Takeover, all we have so far is a FFG released article on this. So it's going to be the first epic multiplayer scenario for Marvel Champions. The Enchantress villain was spoiled in that article, and she looks awesome. She looks like a scenario that's really going to pivot you and put you on this sort of clock before she powers up. So I'm very excited for that scenario pack because to me it looks like a blast. But also Call of the New, so, take it with a grain of salt. But following Kennedy Hawk's first rule of advice of always buy new stuff, buy Trickster Takeover. It'll be new. People will be talking about it. May as well get it.
Interesting. I probably was going to say, I think Trickster Takeover might be a skip for people.
Whoa! Shots fired.
Not because I think it'll be bad, because I'm definitely buying it, but I think I found that generally epic multiplayer designs don't necessarily scale to tables, so I think that part makes it niche, so maybe you're only getting one of the 2 scenarios. So that's maybe a thing to consider. I don't know how, maybe it's fantastic. We haven't played it, but historically, in Lord of the Rings and in Arkham, I think the single table
versions.
When you build it for epic multiplayer, you got to make some design choices there. And I think similar actually to Hood, right? Where it's like, I think if you're interested in kind of leaning into that thing, but what I've seen from her is like, she's going to apply a lot of pressure. And fun fact, both the Hood and the Trickster Takeover share the same designer. So I think maybe if you enjoy kind of the designs of the Hood, and that was a winning scenario for you, Trickster Takeover probably is going to be well loved by you as well.
Yeah, that is fair. I'm still saying thumbs up. We got to do it. We need it.
Maybe you make a commission for every pack you sell.
Right? Okay. I And I think that pretty much wraps up our opinions on different topics. So I'm going to overview my general advice for people, and then I'll give you the chance to, and then we'll wrap up. So the TLDR, if you didn't listen to the last hour and 1 minute of this episode, is my opinions as Kennedy Hawk, the casual likes to play Marvel Champions player, is that if you're just starting, you should buy the core set and then pick whatever like the most interesting cycle to you is and buy that cycle, because it seems like the aspect cards and heroes in that cycle are designed to work well and interact well with that box that they come with, right? So if you're really into S.H.I.E.L.D., that could be the newest cycle. If you're really into Avengers, that could be that Rise of Red Skull cycle. But pick one complete cycle in the core set to get yourself started. Then fill out the aspects that you feel are missing fun or that are the most fun if you want to become a specialist in that aspect. If you've already begun collecting Marvel Champions and you're trying to figure out what to buy next, my argument would be that boxes are the best value. If you don't have all the boxes yet, and if you can find ones at MSRP or close to, then probably buy another box that you don't have. Otherwise, you can pick out hero packs, and at this point, you're probably a pro at Marvel Champions, so pick out heroes that you love or aspects that you really want to fill out. And in my opinion, even though some people act like Cult of the New is a bad thing, I think Cult of the New is a really fun thing because it's a fun way to engage with the community and talk with people about a game that they love just like you do. So always buy the latest cycle or hang out and pick your favorite things from the latest cycle to come onto Discord and talk about. So we'll send it over to Terrence for his general advice on what to buy, other than just everything, because that's my real answer, but I have to hold it inside.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with what you said. I think given kind of the out of print things, you got to be realistic about what you can get. Don't pay $100 probably for most of the content. I think especially given the kind of current and legacy environment thing, and there's a lot of people in your shoes, right, who are getting into the game, realizing it's awesome. Unfortunately for Kenny Hawk and I, we found that out like 6 years ago. Can you believe it's been 65 years, right?
Crazy.
So we kind of got lucky to be able to kind of buy everything, and I understand, now that's much more challenging. And so I feel like get what you can get, prioritize, like not even the cycle for me. Like I would just pick up all the boxes you can, honestly, would be kind of where I would start. It just like you get the most bang for your buck out of those, and that's kind of where I would start, right? Like what you can find are like a mishmash of campaign boxes. You're just going to get a lot more scenarios to do. And so if I was on a shoestring budget, I would prioritize buying all the campaign boxes before I bought my first hero pack, unless there was a hero pack I really wanted or a set of cards that I wanted kind of from that.
Sweet. Well, that does it. This is our 2025 Buyer's Guide from the MCM Podcast. We'll probably jump back and do this again in a year, maybe 2 years. It doesn't make sense to necessarily do it every year because it depends on how much stuff comes out. But it's always good to look back at the history of the game and see what our recommendations would be now, especially if you rewind time and look at our probably poor recommendations when things were coming out. So that's it this week for MCM Podcast. We will see you next week.